I use that to try to come up with openings to these workshops to get people out of their heads. Sometimes a performance, usually a speculative narrative based on the world they want to live in, right? And what that does is it gets them to understand, like, oh, if I'm talking about, for instance, let's say the gay marriage, and I want to encourage people. Today gay marriage has luckily not been destroyed in America yet. Give it
For
time.
now.
Yeah. But there was a time when it was, majority of Americans thought it was a weird thing that, it could somehow mess up marriage if you were married and if you were gay and married and they were straight and married, somehow they imagined there was some sort of like gravitational force that would cancel out their ability to get a boner. So I don't know what it was, but it was some kind of weird thing, right? And so if I was an advocate, I would think very intellectually, well, I need to talk about, people's rights and how fair it is and how these laws and all that is true, right? But the thing that really helped gay marriage was Will and Grace.
Yeah.
Right?
That's so fascinating. Pop culture.
Pop culture.
Yeah.
No one made that show to help gay marriage necessarily, although I'm sure some of the writers thought about it. No one expected that to make a huge difference. But just having this show with gay people that people liked did more for gay marriage for an entire generation to vote for it than a tremendous amount of intellectualizing about it.
So when you do your workshops and things of that nature, people come in with that endpoint. The endpoint is acceptance to gay marriage or whatever their endpoint is. And I help me understand, is that dangerous to have that endpoint?
That the endpoint is it's helpful. Sometimes they don't have the endpoint. We have to do that too. But if they already have the endpoint, that's great. Right. But what you want to do is you want to create a world that people actually want to live in with that endpoint. Right. Like, for instance, I just taught a class at the Harvard Divinity School. And the dean there came to a couple of writers' rooms I did for the Pillars Fund, which is about Muslim equality around the world. And then also the Doris Duke Foundation, which is about Muslim narratives in America. And, we wanted to think about a world where Muslims didn't feel marginalized in America. So what did I do? I didn't go into like a PowerPoint about all the different points we need to hit. I wrote a story about a Muslim dad who left America in 2020 because he was sick of this shit, right? His dad was Black. His mom was Palestinian. And he was just like, I'm done. America's fucked up. I'm leaving. Or excuse my language, but I'm leaving, right? And he assumed that, he would never come back in this country and always be messed up. 20 years later, his son has a daughter in a world where Muslim narratives have been normalized, right? Muslim philosophy has been normalized. Some of the poetry, right? Some of the foundational ideas, particularly around Sufism, made its way into the pop culture vernacular and eventually into like, the policies around how we look at things, right? Just a perspective. He comes back to help with his granddaughter, who's a genius, and she's trying to write a paper on what it feels like to be marginalized, and she has no idea. She's like, I don't know what that, like, I don't understand marginalization. And he breaks out in tears because he's sitting here going like, me and my wife left because this country was so racist. And here, 2 generations later, my granddaughter, it's like Latin to her. She literally can't understand what it means. And the whole story is about that. It's really funny. He's trying to teach her racism, right? And she's trying to get it. And her friends are like, okay, so is it about how you dressed or like, and in our society, there's a lot of cultural, used to be like hinges that are gone now that aren't as consequential as, racism, but they were once a huge thing that, all of American society was like, this has to be, and then years later, no one gets it, like a dial-up phone or something, right? Like my kids today don't understand that. Like you can't take it